Welcome back to Zarila HOA Stories. Drop your country or city name in comments. Chapter 1 of The Tornado Strikes. The sky darkened as if someone had painted it black. The wind began as a whisper, brushing against the windows of Ethan Cole's house. By the time he stepped outside, the clouds were spinning violently, tearing the clouds into gray and green streaks. Maya grabbed his arm. "Ethan, it's getting worse," she said, her voice trembling. "I know. Get the kids inside." "Quick," Ethan urged, his eyes scanning the horizon. His daughter, Lily, clutched her favorite doll, and his son, Max, followed silently. The wind tugged at their clothes like invisible hands. The tornado struck with a roar that shook the ground. Trees splintered like matchsticks, cars flipped, and rooftops vanished into the sky. Ethan guided his family into the safe room he had built last year. Reinforced walls, heavy steel door, emergency supplies stocked neatly. As the door clanged shut, the storm outside screamed louder. The house shook violently. Plates rattled in the kitchen, glass cracked, and the roof groaned under the pressure. Maya pressed herself against Ethan, whispering, "We're going to be okay, right?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "We will be. Just stay close." Minutes, or maybe hours, passed in a terrifying blur. The sound of destruction was deafening. And then, silence. Ethan cracked the safe room door open. The sight that greeted them was shocking. Their house, their entire block, untouched. Trees lay flattened like fallen dominoes. Neighboring homes were ripped to shreds. The streets were littered with debris, cars overturned, roofs gone. Smoke curled from broken chimneys. Max's voice trembled. Why is our house okay?" Ethan couldn't answer. Even he felt the weight of disbelief. Their home had survived when everything else had been destroyed. A strange mix of relief and dread washed over him. From the corner of the street a figure appeared, Tom Willis, their neighbor. Mud smeared his face, his shirt torn. He pointed at Ethan's house, eyes wide. You built this thing like a fortress," Tom shouted. "Look around. Everyone else lost everything." Maya stepped in front of Ethan instinctively. "Tom, don't, we're all scared." Tom's voice broke with fury. "Scared? You think this is about fear? You cheated. You made it through when the rest of us—" His hand trembled as he gestured to the ruined homes. "Why didn't we survive like you?" Ethan's stomach sank. He had prepared for the storm. That was all. But envy, anger, and suspicion already flickered in the survivor's eyes. A car horn blared from down the street. Ethan turned. A black SUV rolled to a stop, its tires crunching debris. Linda Harrington, the HOA president, stepped out. Clipboard in hand, hair perfectly in place despite the chaos. She scanned Ethan's house, then the ruined neighborhood, her lips pressed tight. "Mr. Cole," she called out, her tone sharp, commanding. "Step outside. Now." Ethan froze. He didn't know what to expect. "Linda, the storm, look around. People are." "Step outside," she repeated louder. Her gaze flicked to the neighbors. Whispers started, some curious, some angry. "I want an explanation." Maya grabbed Ethan's arm. "Ethan, what does she want?" "I don't know," he admitted, heart racing. "But this isn't going to be simple." As Ethan opened the safe room door, the wind still moaned around them, carrying dust and splinters. The neighbor's eyes followed every move. And in the back of his mind, a chilling thought took root. If surviving the storm made people suspicious, then the real storm hadn't even started yet. The camera of his mind, the sharp eyes of Linda, seemed to capture every detail. Every corner of his house. Every reinforcement he had built. And somewhere in that silence, Ethan knew, this was only the beginning. Chapter 2 Whispers in the Ruins. The sun barely broke through the gray clouds, casting a dull, eerie light on the neighborhood. Streets were blocked by fallen trees, smashed cars, and scattered debris. Ethan stepped outside with Maya, helping Lily and Max over splintered wood and brick. Neighbors emerged from their wrecked homes, their faces pale, eyes wide with disbelief. The storm had left a trail of destruction that looked almost biblical, and yet, Ethan's house stood tall, untouched. He could feel their eyes. Tom Willis approached first, mud clinging to his clothes. His hands shook, his face red with anger and something darker, envy. You're lucky, Ethan, Tom spat. Too lucky. Everyone else, he gestured to the flattened homes, we lost everything. And your house, it's perfect. Maya took a step forward. Tom, it was a storm. It's not about luck. No, Tom interrupted sharply, voice rising. You built that thing to survive. I've seen the blueprints. You knew it was coming. You planned for this while the rest of us. Ethan's chest tightened. Tom, that's insane. I prepared for safety. That's all. Safety? Tom laughed bitterly. Your safety destroyed the balance. You're showing everyone else up. Don't think we won't notice. From across the street, murmurs grew into whispers, then into harsh, accusing voices. Mrs. Grant shook her head. It's not natural. Houses don't survive like that. I told you it was just luck, Ethan said, raising his hands. He wanted to calm them, but no one seemed to hear. Rachel Kim approached quietly, her face pale. Ethan, be careful. People are talking. Linda, she's already asking questions about your safe room. Ethan froze. His heart sank. Linda. The HOA president. Already? The storm had just passed, and yet the scrutiny was immediate. What do you mean? He asked, his voice low. She wants to inspect your house. Says she's concerned it violates HOA rules, Rachel whispered. Her eyes darted to the crowd, wary of ears. They're angry. And they're looking for someone to blame. Ethan's stomach tightened. The safe room had been legal, at least he thought it was, but the HOA had a way of twisting rules. And now, the survivors were looking at him not as a neighbor but as a target. Tom's face hardened. Don't think we'll just stand here and watch you flaunt it. You need to pay for what you did. Everyone's looking at you like you're a threat. Maya grabbed Ethan's arm, fear written all over her face. Ethan, maybe we should just let it go. Don't make this worse. Ethan shook his head. No, Maya. I didn't do anything wrong. We'll face it. But I have a feeling this is just the start. From down the street, a black SUV rumbled to a stop again. Linda Harrington stepped out, her presence like a storm cloud of its own. Clipboard in hand, eyes sharp as knives. Mr. Cole, she said, her voice carrying across the debris-strewn street. We need to talk. Now. Ethan swallowed hard. Linda, it's a disaster. Look around, people are. Step outside. Now, she interrupted, her tone leaving no room for argument. The neighbors fell silent, watching. Whispers shifted to mutters of approval and anger. Some nodded at Linda, some glared at Ethan. Maya whispered, Ethan, this doesn't feel right. He tightened his jaw. It isn't. Whatever comes next, we have to be ready. As Ethan followed Linda toward her SUV, the whispers grew louder. Accusation and envy floated through the ruined streets like smoke. And in the back of his mind, he knew the storm outside had been nothing compared to the one about to hit him inside the HOA. The steel door of his safe room felt like a distant memory now. What protected them from nature couldn't protect them from people. And as the SUV disappeared behind him, Ethan realized, surviving the tornado wasn't the miracle, surviving the neighbors and the HOA would be the real test. Chapter 3: The President's Arrival. The neighborhood still smelled of smoke and splintered wood. Streets were clogged with debris, and the distant wail of sirens echoed across the flattened blocks. Ethan guided Lily and Max through the wreckage, their shoes crunching on broken shingles and shattered glass. A black SUV rolled to a stop in front of Ethan's house. Out stepped Linda Harrington, the HOA president. Her heels clicked sharply against the concrete, an unnatural sound amid the chaos. Clipboard in hand, she looked almost out of place, pristine, unshaken, commanding. Mr. Cole, she called, her voice cutting through the wind. We need to talk. Now. Ethan took a step back. Linda, it's a disaster out here. People are injured, homes are gone. Is this really the time? Linda's eyes narrowed. Yes, it is the time. Your house survived while everyone else's was destroyed. Explain that. Maya gripped Ethan's arm. Ethan, maybe we should just stay calm. Don't antagonize her. Ethan swallowed, trying to steady his voice. I built a safe room. That's all. I didn't cause the storm. I didn't. Linda interrupted, sharp as a knife. Don't be flippant. There are HOA rules, Mr. Cole. Rules about uniformity, safety structures, and construction approvals. You may have broken them. Ethan's chest tightened. Broken them? Linda, this was legal. I submitted plans last year, approved by the city. And yet, she said slowly, her gaze sweeping the ruined neighborhood, it appears to go beyond what is allowed. Too advanced, too strong, too perfect. The board will want answers. Maya's hands shook. Too perfect? Ethan, she's insane. Linda ignored her. She flipped through her clipboard and held up a sheet. You'll have to appear before the HOA. Your safe room will be inspected. If violations are found, consequences will follow. Ethan's stomach sank. Consequences? What are you talking about? Fines. Demolitions. Legal action. Whatever is necessary to maintain order in this community, she said coldly. From the street, neighbors began gathering, whispering and pointing at Ethan's house. Some glared. Some muttered admiration disguised as resentment. Tom Willis stepped forward, fists clenched. You think you're better than us, Ethan, he shouted. Look at your house. Everyone else is destroyed, and you're standing there like a king. Ethan turned to him, jaw tight. Tom, it's not a competition. Stop this. Tom shook his head. You survived, so now you pay. Maya grabbed Ethan's arm. Ethan, don't. Just don't. Linda snapped her fingers, drawing attention. Enough. Mr. Cole, the HOA will convene tomorrow. You will attend. Bring your documentation, your permits, everything. Failure to comply will be taken very seriously. Ethan clenched his fist. You're threatening me? Not threatening. Informing, Linda said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She turned sharply and walked back to her SUV, clipboard tucked under her arm. The engine roared, and she disappeared down the street, leaving silence in her wake. Ethan's heart pounded. His safe room, his protection from nature, suddenly felt fragile. The storm outside hadn't damaged his house, but something far more dangerous had arrived. The scrutiny of the HOA and the envy of his neighbors. Rachel appeared quietly from behind a toppled mailbox. Ethan, be careful. Linda's not just angry. She's vindictive. This will get ugly. Ethan nodded slowly. I know. I can feel it. But we'll face it. Whatever comes next. As the sun dipped behind the smoky clouds, the wind whispered through the broken trees. The neighborhood was in ruins, but the real storm, lawsuits, fines, and betrayal, was just beginning to gather strength. Ethan looked at his safe room and realized something chilling. Surviving the tornado was nothing. Surviving the HOA would be the real test. Chapter 4 of the Accusation. The HOA meeting room smelled of stale coffee and tension. Sunlight streamed weakly through blinds, casting long shadows across the polished table. Ethan sat rigid in his chair, hands gripping the edge as Linda Harrington paced in front of the board. Mr. Cole, Linda said, her voice sharp and controlled, we've reviewed your home. The board has concerns. Ethan's jaw tightened. Concerns? My house survived a tornado. It's safe. That's all. Linda stopped pacing and looked at him coldly. Safe? Perhaps. But it goes beyond safety. Your safe room, it was never approved by this board. It violates HOA rules regarding structure uniformity and permitted modifications. Maya clutched Ethan's arm under the table. Linda, we submitted all permits. The city approved it. Why are you making this about rules? Linda ignored her. The rules exist to protect the community. What you built, it disrupts that protection. It's excessive. You went beyond what is allowed. Tom Willis leaned forward, smirking. Finally, someone says it. You think surviving the storm makes you better than the rest of us? We all suffered while you survived untouched. It's unfair. Ethan felt a hot rush of anger and disbelief. Unfair? I didn't hurt anyone. I built this to keep my family safe. Linda waved a hand. Intent doesn't matter. The board's concern is the structure itself. We cannot allow houses to stand in a way that defies uniformity. Mr. Cole, the board has voted. You will face consequences. What kind of consequences? Ethan asked, voice tight. The maximum allowed under HOA bylaws, Linda said calmly. A fine. $1 million. Ethan froze. The room seemed to tilt. $1 million. His heart pounded. Maya gasped, covering her mouth with trembling hands. You can't be serious. Ethan stammered. Linda's smile was thin, almost cruel. Rules are rules. You violated them. You benefited while others suffered. The board believes this fine is justified. Rachel, sitting quietly in the back, whispered to Ethan, this isn't about rules. It's about showing who's in control. And they're using you as an example. Ethan rubbed his face. We barely survived the storm, and now this? $1 million fine. Compliance is mandatory, Linda said, flipping through her clipboard. You have 30 days to pay, or we will pursue legal action. Demolition of the safe room is also an option if the fine is not met. Maya's voice shook. Ethan, what are we going to do? Ethan looked around the room at the board members, faces expressionless, some smug, some fearful. He swallowed hard. We fight. We can't just let them do this. Linda leaned closer, her eyes boring into his. Fight if you must. But remember, every day you delay, the community watches. And not all of them are on your side. Outside the window, the wind rattled the blinds. The wreckage of the tornado still stretched down the street. But Ethan now understood. The storm inside the HOA boardroom was far more dangerous than any natural disaster. He clenched his fists under the table. We'll see who's really protected when the next move is made. As they left the room, Tom followed Ethan down the hall, muttering under his breath. You think you're smart. Just wait. Everyone's watching and everyone's angry. Maya looked at Ethan, tears streaming down her face. I don't know how we'll survive this. Ethan stared at his safe room in the distance, its steel door gleaming faintly in the sunlight. It kept us safe from the storm, but it won't save us from them. And from the corner of his eye, he caught Rachel slipping an envelope into his hand. A quiet warning, a lifeline, or a trap, he didn't yet know. The real fight had just begun. Chapter 5, $1 million. Ethan's hands shook as he tore open the official envelope from the HOA. The paper inside felt heavier than it should. Bold letters stared up at him. Fine, $1 million, safe room violation. Maya gasped, dropping to the couch. $1 million? Ethan, this can't be real. Ethan sank into a chair, staring at the letter as if it might explain itself. His mind raced. How could surviving a storm turn into this nightmare? How could safety now be a crime? Outside, the neighborhood buzzed with whispers and pointed fingers. Tom Willis leaned on his car, grinning cruelly. Looks like luck runs out, Ethan, he called, voice dripping with satisfaction. Guess even your bunker can't save your wallet. Ethan clenched his jaw. This isn't about luck, Tom. It's about rules, twisted ones. Maya shook her head, tears in her eyes. We barely survived the tornado, and now they want $1 million? How are we supposed to pay this? Ethan stood abruptly, pacing the living room. We're not going to pay. Not without fighting. I won't let them bully us like this. The kids peeked from behind the couch. Max whispered, Daddy, are we going to lose our house? Ethan forced a smile. No, Max. We're going to fix this. But inside, he felt the crushing weight of reality. The HOA's fine wasn't just money, it was power, a test of obedience. And now, the neighborhood that had survived the storm was watching him, waiting for him to break. A knock at the door made them all jump. Ethan opened it to see Rachel standing there, face pale and anxious. She handed him another envelope. "What's this?" Ethan asked, wary. "Evidence," Rachel whispered. "Emails, memos, proof that Linda is bending the rules for her own gain. But be careful. If she finds out I gave this to you," her voice trailed off. Ethan took the envelope, heart pounding. "Thank you, Rachel. We'll be careful. But what if it's not enough?" Rachel hesitated. "It has to be. But the community, they're turning against you. People are angry, scared, and jealous. Some won't wait for the board, they'll act on their own." Maya clutched Ethan's arm. "Ethan, we can't handle this alone. Maybe we should just pay the fine." "No," Ethan said firmly, shaking his head. "If we pay, they win. If we pay, everyone sees that fear rules us. We survived the tornado. Now we survive them." A low rumble from the street caught their attention. Ethan looked out the window. A small group of neighbors had gathered, carrying signs, shouting insults, and pointing at his house. Their eyes were full of anger, jealousy, and fear. Tom's voice cut through the chaos. "You think you're better than the rest of us? Pay up, Ethan. Pay for what you did." Ethan's stomach twisted. It wasn't just Linda or the HOA. His own neighbors were turning against him. Survival had made him a target. He turned to Maya, voice low but steady. "We'll fight. Whatever it takes. But we need a plan. And fast." Maya nodded, tears streaking her face. "I trust you. Just promise me we'll be okay." Ethan looked at his home, intact and proud amidst the devastation. "I promise. But I can't promise it won't get worse." The wind howled through the broken street. Ethan felt it deep in his bones. The storm outside had passed, but the real storm had just begun. And from the corner of the street, he noticed Linda's SUV parked once again, engine idling, eyes watching. Her clipboard gleamed in the dim sunlight. She wasn't done. Not even close. Chapter 6. The neighborhood turns. The morning air was thick with tension. The storm's debris had been partially cleared, but the neighborhood still looked like a battlefield. Ethan stepped onto his porch to survey the damage, and the people. A small group of neighbors had gathered in front of his house. Their faces were pale, grim, and filled with resentment. Signs were crudely made from scraps of wood. "Fair is fair" and "Pay up, Ethan" swayed in the breeze. Tom Willis led the group, his jaw tight with anger. "Ethan, you think surviving the tornado makes you special? You cheated us all." Ethan crossed his arms. "I didn't cheat anyone, Tom. I prepared for a storm, like anyone would. That's all." "You call that preparation?" Tom shouted, his face red. "Your safe room, your perfect house, it makes the rest of us look like fools." Maya stepped forward, her hands shaking. "Please, everyone, it's not like that. Ethan didn't do anything wrong. We all survived. We should be helping each other, not tearing each other apart." The neighbors murmured, some nodding, but most glaring at Ethan. Resentment hung heavy in the air. One man, holding a broken fence post, pointed at Ethan's home. "It's not right. Everyone else lost everything. You have everything intact and you're smiling. You can't just stand there while we suffer." Ethan swallowed hard. He felt the weight of the crowd pressing in. This wasn't just about the HOA anymore. His own neighbors had become enemies. Rachel appeared quietly at the edge of the crowd. She caught Ethan's eye and mouthed a warning. "Be careful. Some of them won't wait for the board. Things could get ugly." Ethan nodded slightly, taking a deep breath. "Listen. I didn't do this to hurt anyone. I survived because I prepared. I'm not your enemy." Tom sneered. "Your enemy? Maybe not today, but soon, you'll see who we really are." Before Ethan could respond, a car horn blared. Linda's black SUV rolled slowly down the street. Her presence was like a shadow over the neighborhood, her clipboard in hand, eyes scanning Ethan's house and the gathering crowd. She stepped out, crisp and controlled as always. "Mr. Cole," she called, voice cutting through the tension. "We need to talk. Now. Everyone else can wait." The neighbors exchanged glances, some scoffing, others whispering nervously. Their anger didn't fade, it simmered, ready to explode. Ethan turned to Maya. "I need to face this, but don't come with me. Stay here with the kids." Maya shook her head, tears in her eyes. "I'm not leaving you alone." "I mean it," Ethan said firmly. "Just stay back. If this gets worse," his voice trailed off. Linda's eyes locked on Ethan as he approached. "You've caused quite a stir," she said coolly. "And now the board expects compliance. You will attend the inspection tomorrow. Prepare yourself." Ethan's fists clenched. "I'm not doing anything wrong. You have no right." Linda interrupted, voice low and threatening. "Rights? Rules? This isn't about rights, Mr. Cole. It's about control. And control I have plenty of." The SUV engine roared to life. Linda's gaze stayed on Ethan until the vehicle disappeared down the street. The crowd remained, but their whispers shifted to murmurs of suspicion and doubt. Tom stepped closer. "They'll get you. You'll see. You can't survive this on your own." Ethan looked around at the ruined street, the angry faces, the destroyed homes. His house was intact, but he felt exposed, like a fortress surrounded by enemies. Maya touched his arm, voice barely a whisper. "Ethan, what do we do now?" Ethan stared at his safe room, its steel door gleaming faintly in the morning light. "We survive," he said, voice low but steady. "And then we fight back." From the corner of his eye, he saw Rachel slip him a small envelope. Inside was a note. "Linda has eyes everywhere. Trust no one. Start planning." The wind picked up again, rustling debris and broken signs. Ethan realized something chilling. Surviving the tornado hadn't just made him lucky, it had painted a target on his back. And this storm was just beginning. Chapter 7: The Siege. Ethan woke before dawn. The neighborhood was eerily quiet, broken only by the distant sound of chainsaws and trucks clearing debris. But he knew the silence was temporary. He felt it in his bones. A storm was coming, one no safe room could stop. A sharp knock on the door made him jump. He opened it cautiously. 2 HOA inspectors stood there, clipboards in hand, their expressions rigid. "Mr. Cole," one said, voice formal. "We're here to inspect your property." Linda Harrington requested a full assessment of the safe room and all modifications. Ethan's jaw tightened. "I've already submitted permits. You've seen the city approvals. There's nothing illegal." The second inspector gave a polite but firm nod. "We're here on official HOA business. Compliance is required." Maya stepped forward, clutching Lily and Max. "Please, we've survived a tornado. Isn't that enough?" The inspectors didn't answer. They began photographing the exterior and inspecting the perimeter, their cameras clicking and notebooks scribbling. Ethan felt like a prisoner in his own home. Tom Willis appeared suddenly from the street, leaning against a smashed mailbox. "Looks like they mean business," he said, smirking. "Can't wait to see them tear it all down." Ethan clenched his fist. "It won't happen. Not while I'm standing here." Hours passed. The inspectors measured walls, checked steel reinforcements, and scribbled note. Ethan hovered nearby, fuming, while Maya tried to keep the kids distracted. The neighbors watched from a distance, some jeering, others whispering. The air buzzed with tension, like static before a storm. Finally, one inspector stepped back, folding his clipboard. "Everything seems structurally sound. But the board will decide if it's compliant. You'll be notified." Ethan exhaled slowly, but relief was short-lived. A sharp voice cut through the air. "Mr. Cole, step outside." Linda Harrington had arrived. Her heels clicked on the cracked pavement, her clipboard tucked under one arm. She surveyed the house like a predator circling prey. "You see what I mean," she said, voice calm but cold. "Perfect, isn't it? Too perfect. And that is exactly the problem. Ethan's hands shook with anger. Linda, we survived a tornado. This is about safety, not perfection. Linda smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. Safety? Perhaps. But it sets a precedent. If everyone built homes like this, the HOA loses control. Rules must be enforced. Consequences must follow. Tom stepped forward, grinning. See? Told you. You're going down, Ethan. Ethan's heart pounded. You can't win like this. You're bullying people for surviving a storm. Linda's eyes narrowed. Surviving? Or flaunting? The community is watching. Your house is a statement. And statements have a price. Maya gripped Ethan's arm. Ethan, just let it go. Don't escalate. He shook his head. I can't. We've done nothing wrong. If I back down, they win. Linda raised her hand slightly. We'll see what the board decides. But remember this, Mr. Cole. The inspectors saw everything. Your every corner, every reinforcement. They know exactly what you built. And they know it's too much. With that, she turned and walked back to her SUV, engine roaring to life. The inspectors followed, leaving Ethan standing on the porch, fists clenched, heart racing. He looked out across the ruined street, at the hostile neighbors whispering among themselves, at Tom's smug grin. Then he glanced at the steel door of his safe room. It had kept his family safe from the tornado. But now, for the first time, Ethan realized it couldn't protect them from people. Rachel appeared from behind a tree, her expression grave. She slipped another envelope into his hand. Ethan, this isn't just about rules anymore. They're coming for you. Be ready. They'll do whatever it takes. Ethan's stomach twisted. He opened the envelope briefly, scanning its contents. Notes, photos, and hints of corruption within the HOA board. He looked back at his home, standing tall amidst destruction, and felt the weight of inevitability. This isn't just a fight for money, it's a fight for everything we survived. And from the corner of his eye, he saw a shadow moving in the street, a neighbor he didn't recognize, watching, taking mental notes. The siege wasn't over. It was just beginning. The real danger wasn't the tornado. It was the people. Chapter 8, Enter the Lawyer. The office smelled faintly of coffee and old books. Ethan sat across from Carter Blake, a seasoned attorney with sharp eyes and a calm, commanding presence. Papers and legal folders were stacked neatly on the desk, but Carter's attention was fully on Ethan. They've gone too far, Carter said quietly. A $1 million fine for a safe room? That's extreme, even for an HOA. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. I just wanted to keep my family safe. That's all. Now, they're coming at us from every direction. The neighbors, the board. I don't even know who to trust. Carter leaned back, steepling his fingers. You need to understand something, Ethan. The HOA isn't just enforcing rules. They're using those rules to assert control, intimidate, and, possibly, cover financial missteps. Ethan's stomach tightened. Cover financial missteps? What do you mean? Linda Harrington and her board, Carter explained, have been under scrutiny for questionable spending. Some of these fines are just a way to distract attention and make examples out of homeowners who won't bend. Ethan's eyes widened. So, I'm not the problem. Carter shook his head. You're a convenient target. But this fight, it's winnable. With the right strategy, documentation, and evidence, we can challenge them. You have city-approved permits, and if Rachel's evidence is legit, it could expose the HOA's misconduct. Ethan leaned forward, gripping the edge of the desk. Rachel gave me an envelope, emails, notes, things that show Linda's manipulating the board. But what if they find out she helped? Carter's eyes hardened. Then she's at risk. That's why we have to be careful. Every move you make from here on out has to be calculated. One wrong step, and it becomes about more than fines, it could become a personal war. Maya sat quietly in the corner, holding Lily close. Ethan, I'm scared. What if this ruins us? Our house, our lives. Ethan reached for her hand. I know. I feel the same. But we survived a tornado. This is different, but we can survive it too. I promise. Carter slid a folder across the desk. Start with this. Copies of city permits, structural inspections, and any correspondence you have with the HOA. We build our case piece by piece. Evidence of your compliance, combined with Rachel's material, it's the foundation. Ethan nodded slowly. And if they try to push back harder? They will, Carter said. They always do. But once the board sees their tactics exposed in court, it shifts the power. You're not just defending your home, you're defending the principle that rules aren't for harassment. Ethan swallowed, a mix of fear and determination settling in his chest. Then we fight. Carter stood. Good. And one more thing, you need to be ready for backlash. Neighbors, the board, even Linda herself, they won't back down quietly. People are already angry at your survival. Some of them might act before the legal process begins. Stay alert. Maya squeezed Ethan's hand. We'll be careful. Ethan looked at the folder, the envelope from Rachel still in his pocket, and thought about the ruined neighborhood, the angry neighbors, Tom's smirk and Linda's icy stare. The storm outside had been devastating, but the storm inside the HOA was more dangerous. Carter, Ethan said slowly, how long before this gets ugly? Carter's expression was grim. Ugly has already started. You just didn't see it until now. But don't worry, we'll be ready. The question is, are you ready? Ethan's jaw tightened. He nodded once. I have to be. For my family. For our home. As they left the office, Ethan's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. They're watching you closer than you think. One wrong move and it's over. Be careful tonight. Ethan's stomach dropped. The fight was no longer just legal. It had become personal, immediate, and dangerous. The tornado had spared their home, but nothing would spare them from what was coming next. Chapter 9: A Trial of Lies. The courthouse smelled of polished wood and nervous tension. Ethan sat at the plaintiff's table, Carter Blake beside him, folders stacked neatly with every piece of evidence they had. Across the room, Linda Harrington and the HOA board watched him like predators circling prey. The courtroom was crowded. Neighbors peeked from the benches, some whispering, others openly staring. Tom Willis sat near the front, a smug smile playing on his lip. Ethan's stomach churned. He hadn't just survived a storm, now he had to survive the court of public opinion. The judge entered, gavel in hand. We are here for the case of HOA versus Ethan Cole, she announced, voice stern but calm. Proceed. Linda stood first, speaking with practiced calm. Your Honor, Mr. Cole built an unapproved structure on his property. Despite city permits, it violates HOA bylaws regarding uniformity and community standards. We seek fines and corrective action. Ethan's hands tightened into fists. Your Honor, Carter began, voice firm, this fine is punitive, not corrective. Mr. Cole's safe room was legal by all city standards. The HOA is targeting him to intimidate homeowners, and we have evidence showing misuse of board authority. Linda shot Carter a glare, her lips pressing into a thin line. She leaned toward a microphone. Objection, she said. The witness cannot claim board misconduct without concrete proof. Carter calmly slid Rachel's envelope across the table. We do have proof, Your Honor. Internal emails and memos show the board strategically issued excessive fines, targeting specific homeowners, including Mr. Cole. The judge adjusted her glasses, reviewing the documents. This is serious. Evidence of manipulation and selective enforcement cannot be ignored. A hush fell over the courtroom. Ethan dared to glance at the neighbors. Some looked impressed, others skeptical, and Tom's smirk hadn't faded. When called to testify, Tom stood. I've lived next to Ethan for years, and I've seen him act like he thinks he's better than us. Surviving the tornado, it's not fair. Ethan's heart sank. He had hoped some neighbors would support him, but Tom's testimony painted him as arrogant, as if the disaster itself were his fault. Carter interjected immediately. Your Honor, this is irrelevant and biased testimony. Tom's statements are based on envy and not fact. But the damage was subtle. The jury, the neighbors, even Ethan felt the sting of doubt. Linda's smirk widened, sensing her leverage. During a recess, Rachel whispered to Ethan, "They're trying to twist everything. Even your neighbors are against you. You need to stay calm. Don't react." Ethan nodded, swallowing back his anger. I can't believe he would do this. Tom, after everything we survived." "He's scared," Rachel said quietly. "And scared people do terrible things." Back in the courtroom, Carter presented the strongest evidence. Building permits, structural inspections, and the HOA's internal emails. Slowly, the tide seemed to shift. The judge frowned as she read the documents. Linda leaned over to one of the board members. "This isn't over. He might win this round, but there are other ways to make him pay." Ethan noticed her whisper, his stomach twisting. The fight wasn't just legal, it was personal, and Linda had no intention of stopping. The judge called for a short recess. Ethan stepped outside, inhaling the crisp air. His house, his family, his safe room, all that he had worked for, hung in the balance. Rachel appeared at his side. "They're playing a long game. Be ready. The next move will be ugly." Ethan clenched his fists. "We survived the tornado. We can survive them. But I didn't realize how far they'd go." From across the street, through the courthouse window, Ethan spotted Tom speaking quietly to someone. Linda, perhaps, or another board member. The look on his face was calculated, dangerous. The storm outside had been fierce. But this court, these people, this was a storm that would not end with sunshine. Chapter 10: The Hidden Evidence. Ethan sat at the kitchen table late at night, the house quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. The weight of the $1 million fine pressed on him like a storm cloud, but now there was hope. Rachel's envelope sat in front of him, waiting. He opened it carefully. Inside were emails, memos, and photos, proof that Linda and the HOA board had manipulated fines, targeted homeowners, and twisted rules to their advantage. His heart raced as he scanned the document. They've been doing this for years," he whispered to himself. "And we're the first ones to catch it?" Maya appeared behind him, holding Lily. "Ethan, is that going to help?" Ethan looked up, determination in his eyes. "Yes. If we play this right, it could save us. And it could expose Linda for what she really is." A knock at the door made them both jump. Ethan went cautiously to peek through the peephole. No one was there. Just a single envelope, slipped under the door. He picked it up. Inside, a note written in sharp handwriting. "Be careful. They're watching your every move. One wrong step and it's over. Tonight, no mistakes." Ethan's stomach twisted. The HOA wasn't just a legal problem anymore, it was personal, calculated, and dangerous. He turned to Maya. "We have to be smart. Follow the plan. Don't react to provocation." Maya nodded, clutching his arm. "I trust you. But it's scary. They're relentless." The next morning, Ethan met Carter Blake in the office. Carter spread out the evidence across the desk. "This changes everything. These documents prove selective enforcement, intimidation, and mismanagement by the board. We can use this in court, and it strengthens your case significantly." Ethan leaned forward. "So, we have a chance?" Carter nodded. "A real chance. But now they know you're prepared. They'll push back harder, try to intimidate you even more. This fight isn't just about fines anymore, it's about power, control, and fear. You need to stay ahead." Ethan's mind flashed back to the ruined streets, the angry neighbors, Tom's smug grin, and Linda's cold stare. They won't stop. Not until they think they've won. That evening, as Ethan returned home, he noticed a group of neighbors gathered across the street. Their faces were hidden in shadows, but their intent was clear. They were waiting, watching, ready to turn anger into action. Tom stepped forward, smirking. "Enjoy your little victory while you can, Ethan. Things are about to get complicated. Ethan swallowed hard. I'm not afraid of you. Or them. Or Linda. Tom laughed, a low, chilling sound. You should be. Maya tugged at Ethan's sleeve. Ethan, what now? He looked at the safe room, sturdy as ever, and then at the envelope of evidence in his pocket. Now or we fight. Harder. Smarter. And we don't let them win. As the sun dipped behind broken rooftops, Ethan knew the next move would decide everything. The HOA had been exposed, but exposing them had made him a target. The tornado was over. The storm inside the community was only just beginning. And from the shadows, someone, he didn't know who, watched, taking notes, calculating the next strike. The final battle was closer than he realized. Chapter 11: Retaliation. The morning was tense. The neighborhood, still scarred from the tornado, felt like a powder keg. Ethan stepped outside to inspect the property, but something felt off. Too quiet, too deliberate. Before he could reach the safe room, a loud crash echoed from the backyard. Ethan spun around. Tom Willis and 2 other neighbors were there, dragging construction debris toward his fence. Stop! What are you doing? Ethan shouted, running toward them. Tom smirked. Making a statement. Maybe this will convince you that surviving doesn't make you untouchable. Maya appeared behind Ethan, panic in her eyes. Ethan, call the police. Don't confront them. But Ethan's anger surged. No. Not this time. He stepped between the debris and his home. Back off. You want to fight? You fight me, not my family or my house. Tom's smirk faltered, but he didn't move. You think your lawyer, your evidence, it matters? It's all just paper. Out here, it's about action. From the street, more neighbors gathered, whispering, pointing, some cheering quietly. The community had turned into a jury and a mob at once. Ethan's heart pounded, not from fear of destruction, but from disbelief. People he had trusted, neighbors he had waved to just days before, were now enemies. Suddenly, the black SUV appeared at the curb. Linda Harrington stepped out, clipboard in hand, eyes cold as ice. Mr. Cole, she said, voice carrying over the chaos, it appears you've drawn attention. The board has observed these disturbances. You must remember, escalation is not in your favor. Ethan clenched his fist. Disturbances? They're trying to destroy our home. Linda's eyes flicked to Tom, then back to Ethan. And yet, it seems to me that you've provoked some of your neighbors with your survival. Rules, Mr. Cole, rules must be respected. Maya's voice trembled. Ethan, please. Don't let them drag you into this. Ethan swallowed. His chest heaved. He looked at the safe room, steel door gleaming, walls intact. The tornado hadn't touched them. But the storm now raging outside the safe room? That was human. Rachel appeared from the edge of the street, ducking behind a broken mailbox. She handed Ethan another envelope. Ethan, this is bigger than just Linda or the HOA. The board is desperate. They're willing to break rules, intimidate, do whatever it takes. You need to be ready. Ethan glanced at the envelope, then at the angry crowd. He nodded slowly. We've survived a natural disaster. This we can survive too. But we need to fight smart. Tom shoved a piece of splintered wood toward Ethan's door. Consider this a warning. Survive the court, maybe, but survive us? Not so sure. Ethan's jaw tightened. You don't intimidate me. We're ready for whatever comes next. Linda straightened, clipboard in hand. The board will not tolerate chaos. Prepare yourself for the hearing tomorrow. Compliance or consequences. The SUV drove off, leaving Ethan standing amidst debris, neighbors whispering, and the tension crackling like static in the air. Maya hugged him tightly. Ethan, what now? Ethan looked at his home, safe, intact, yet suddenly vulnerable in ways the tornado never threatened. Now, he said, voice low but resolute, we prepare. Because the next strike, it's going to be personal. And from the shadows, Rachel's eyes met his. A silent warning, this isn't over. Not by far. The storm outside had passed, but the storm inside the HOA, inside the neighborhood, was only escalating. Chapter 12: The Final Showdown. The courtroom was packed. Ethan sat with Maya and the kids behind him, Carter Blake beside him, folders stacked and evidence ready. Across the room, Linda Harrington's icy glare met his like a blade. The board members sat stiffly, trying to appear impartial, but Ethan could feel the tension radiating off them. The judge's gavel slammed. "We will continue the case of HOA versus Ethan Cole. Let us proceed." Linda rose first. "Your Honor, we maintain that Mr. Cole violated HOA rules by building an unapproved safe room. The fine is justified. This structure sets a dangerous precedent for the community." Ethan stood as Carter approached the bench. "Your Honor, the fine is not only excessive, it is punitive. My client followed city-approved procedures, yet the HOA has targeted him unfairly. We have documents proving internal manipulation, selective enforcement, and intimidation by the board." The judge glanced at the papers, her brow furrowing. "This is serious. Evidence of targeted harassment cannot be ignored." Linda's face tightened. "Objection. These emails and memos are hearsay." Carter leaned forward. "Your Honor, these are internal communications from the HOA itself. They demonstrate intent. Mr. Cole is not guilty of any rule violation. He is being punished for surviving a disaster." The room murmured. Neighbors shifted uneasily. Some whispered support, some looked shocked. Even Tom Willis fidgeted uncomfortably, his smugness gone. Ethan took a deep breath. "Your Honor, I didn't ask for this. I built my home to protect my family. I survived the tornado. But now my survival has been used against me. I followed the law. I respected the community. And yet I've been threatened, fined, and attacked." Linda's jaw tightened. "Your Honor, he flaunts compliance. He acts superior." The judge held up a hand. "Silence. Mr. Cole, please continue." Ethan glanced at Carter, then at Maya and the kids. "I trusted this community. I helped neighbors when I could. And now neighbors turned against me because of fear and jealousy. This isn't about rules. It's about power. About control. About punishing someone for surviving." Rachel slipped quietly into the back of the courtroom. Ethan's heart lifted slightly. Her evidence, her warning, had brought clarity. Carter spoke again. "Your Honor, in light of the evidence, the selective targeting and intimidation, we request dismissal of all fines and restoration of Mr. Cole's reputation. Furthermore, we request an investigation into HOA misconduct." The judge leaned back, reviewing documents. "It is clear the HOA engaged in behavior that may be abusive and selective. Their authority cannot extend to harassment. I am ordering the $1 million fine be immediately rescinded. Mr. Cole is not in violation of any bylaws or laws. Furthermore, the board is placed under investigation." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Ethan's knees nearly buckled. Maya hugged him tightly. The kids looked up at him with wide eyes, relief shining on their faces. Linda's face drained of color. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked around at the crowd of neighbors, many of whom now avoided eye contact, and realized her control had slipped. Tom sat frozen, his smirk gone. He had underestimated Ethan's resolve. Ethan exhaled slowly, a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "It's over, isn't it?" Maya whispered. Carter shook his head. "Legally, yes. But watch for retaliation. Linda and the board may try indirect actions. You need to remain vigilant." Ethan nodded, eyes on the safe room he had built. It had protected his family from a natural disaster, and now it symbolized endurance against human storms too. As the family left the courthouse, Rachel caught Ethan's eye. She handed him a small note. "This isn't the end. They'll test boundaries, but you've proven strength and truth can prevail." Ethan smiled faintly. "Then we stay strong. No more fear. No more hiding." Behind them, the HOA members shuffled out, whispering and casting glances that promised grudges, but the tide had turned. The community had witnessed justice. For the first time in weeks, Ethan felt the weight lift. Survival wasn't just about weathering storms outside, it was about standing firm against storms within. And as the sun set over the broken, recovering neighborhood, one thought remained in Ethan's mind. The tornado had passed, the HOA had fallen, and yet vigilance would always be the cost of peace. If you love watching my video, then make sure to subscribe and like my video.